dudes, and welcome back to the Bantz. As always, I am your host, the Bantz, and it's finally Wednesday, the middle of the week. We're halfway there, so that means it's time for our second What's Happening in Fashion this week, so let's get started. And first up, as always, we have our headlines for the day. And in our first story of the day, brand Standard Fare went to Kickstarter last month in an attempt to fund their idea of an all-leather American-made sneaker, and honestly, I think this is a fantastic idea. And although the concept at first seems basic, it is actually pretty great. As I said before, it is just a sneaker. However, it is a very high quality made sneaker with very high quality leather, and it has a resolable sole as well. And aside from the fact, as I said before, that this sneaker is made in America, they also do a really nice job of showing where all the materials come from. And even though most of the materials are still American in nature, the fact that they show where the non-American materials are coming from too is a really nice touch that you don't see a lot of brands do nowadays. And even though these shoes might seem a little bit on the pricier side, you do have to remember everything that's going into them. We're talking the high quality leather, the American manufacturing, and honestly all the time and effort that's gone into designing them as well. And comparably, for this price, you're not going to find anything near this quality. So if this does sound interesting to you, you might want to hop on that train as soon as possible, as this Kickstarter does end tomorrow. And now moving on into our next story, and boy, I cannot wait to cover this one. Karl Lagerfeld just sat down recently with Numero for a quick interview, and oh my god, is this a doozy. Now, Karl has never been one to really pull punches when it comes to talking about, well, anything. And boy, does he not pull any fucking punches here. Let's go over some of the highlights, shall we? In regards to menswear, drawing a men's collection and put up with all those stupid models? No thanks. In regards to designers being too rough with female models, if you don't want to have your pants pulled about, don't become a model, join a nunnery. This is absolutely fantastic. And lastly, and personally my favorite, between Virgil Abloh, women's designer Jacquemus, or J.W. Anderson, if you had to choose one person to take on a desert island to spend time with till the end of days, who would you take and why? His response? I'd kill myself first. Oh, Karl, I fucking love you, man. Now, obviously, a lot of people weren't too happy about this. And although I do completely understand from other people why they'd be upset and or offended by this, I think people are forgetting to realize that this is Karl Lagerfeld we're talking about. As I said before, this is a man who is absolutely not willing to pull any punches, and he really doesn't give a fuck what other people think about his opinion either. For fuck's sakes, this is a man that wants to marry his fucking cat. But at the very least, I would at least take a skim over this interview. It is by far one of the funniest interviews I have read in a very long time. And Karl, please just keep being you. Alright, and with those headlines out of the way, let's move on to our art stories for the day. And first up, Gwen Yips showed off some of her newest paintings, and honestly, I think they're fantastic. If the idea of realistic minimalism taken in a urban landscape sounds very interesting to you, then I definitely check these out. Then art duo The Low Bros showed off some of their newest paintings from their newest gallery exhibit now open in San Francisco. And honestly, if you're a fan once again of geometric shapes and kind of some, for the lack of a better term, vaporwave vibes, then I would definitely give these a look. And lastly, Shepard Fairey teamed up with Adidas Skateboards to release their newest Showcase X exhibit, and honestly, I think this is absolutely fantastic. Basically, with Fairey as curator, he's picked out a bunch of rising artists in the skateboarding world, such as Sibo Walker or Zora Olivia, and a bunch of others as well. And basically put all of their artworks on display in the 7th Leather Gallery in LA. So I would definitely take out the time to check out some of these pictures, especially if you're a fan of skateboarding culture, and if you happen to be in LA anytime soon, definitely go check out this exhibit. Definitely will be worth it. Alright, and now that we're done with our art stories, let's move on to our fashion of the day. And starting us off, let's just quickly talk about the newest Vetements and Umbro collaboration. I mean, anybody with even a significant amount of brain cells in their skull can see that this collection is just absolutely shit. And if there was actually anyone left out there that couldn't understand why Vetements was dying, well, here's your fucking answer. Then designer Boris Bijan Saberi got together with artist Phil America for what they are calling a modern love story capsule collection, and honestly, I found it very interesting. First off, starting with the pieces alone, they do look like they're very nice quality, very nice tech pieces, and pretty much along the lines of anything we'd see from the 11 by BBS line. But then moving on to the graphics, I think it was kind of refreshing to see something a little bit more racy than what we have seen in a very long time, in my opinion. And I really think we do have to give a lot of credit to BBS on some of these embroidered pieces, because they are just absolutely gorgeous. So if the idea of combining techwear with just a tiny bit of smut appeals to you, then this collection is definitely for you. Then designer Shayne Oliver is back once again, this time in collaboration with brand Longchamp, and I honestly think these pieces are pretty amazing. Now, we've seen people try and put bags and clothing pieces together in some sort of Frankenstein hybrid. The one that comes to mind most recently is obviously the Junya Watanabe / North Face collaboration, but I don't think anyone's ever put bags and clothing together kind of like this. Like, just look at it. It's literally just, oh, let's fucking cut off the sleeve and put the bag there. Genius. But in all seriousness, it is always nice and a little bit refreshing to see something a little bit on the quirky and the crazy and the zanier side. And I gotta give it up to Shayne Oliver for never backing down from doing something along these lines. Then we have a brand that I never thought I'd be talking about again, and that is Acne Studios showing off their Spring/Summer 2018 lookbook, and I actually kind of enjoyed it. Now, Acne Studios tapped into a lot of Swedish folklore to make this collection, putting a lot of graphics and a lot of symbols and a lot of patterns all over their pieces, and I find it really enjoyable. I think the best way to describe it here is think of what KTZ did with their Russian Orthodox collection, but just with a myriad of more color. However, for as much as I do enjoy this collection, the fact that there are only 2 pairs of pants and they're only shorts, and the only difference between them is just the fact that there's a different color, one is pink and one is orange, and the graphic is pretty much the same, that's a little bit lazy. But that said, if you do find yourself a fan of more, I don't know, folklore or myths, or maybe you just like a nice detailed graphic or a nice heavy pattern, I would definitely check out this collection. Then Uniqlo showed off their newest collaborative collection, this time titled Brands Masterpieces, and honestly, I think it's alright. The concept behind this collection is just collaborating with some well-known brands in their fields. For example, here we have Roland, the electronic music giant, Victorinox, well known for their Swiss Army knives, and even brands like Ducati, known for their well-made sport bikes. From there, they take a lot of these images or ideas that are well known among people that would be fans of these brands and put them on Uniqlo clothes. And personally, as I said before, I don't think the designs here are necessarily bad, and once again, it is kind of hard to beat that Uniqlo pricing, but I just want to let you guys know that almost every single brand they're collaborating with here does make their own clothing. And in my personal opinion, if you do want to rep these brands and wear their clothes, just buy from them directly. I mean, yeah, you might pay another $1 or $2 here, but then at least all the money is going specifically to them. I mean, you're trying to support the brand, right? Then just do it the right way. And lastly, Yohji Yamamoto and hat company New Era came together for their newest Spring/Summer 2018 collection, and honestly, I thought it was pretty good. As per usual in a lot of Yohji collaborations, his signature is obviously the key graphic here, although they did put some nice little flowers, roses on a couple of the pieces as a nice little detailing. And although of course the hats are the stars here, if you do want yourself a new Yohji piece or maybe a first Yohji piece for a little bit less than standard Yohji prices because of the collaboration, I would definitely give this collection a look. Alright, and let's move on finally to our articles for the day. And first up, Grailed put out a nice little article titled 5 German Brands You Need to Know. And although you may be more familiar with some of these rather than others, I still think it's important to kind of still get a world view on some brands from countries that are not as popular in the scene as we're used to seeing. So once again, if you are a fan of learning about new brands, or maybe just other world brands that you might not have heard of before, this is definitely worth checking out. Then Sense put out a really nice article called Why Heritage Logos Are Back, Having Never Left. And honestly, they go over some of the more well-known logos in the luxury fashion scene, such as Polo, Versace, Chanel, Gucci, among a couple others, and they really go into a nice history of each logo, kind of where they come from, why they're still around, where they're headed, things along those lines. So if the idea of kind of logos or maybe high fashion appeals to you, or maybe why certain things appeal to people in general, then I would definitely give this a read. And lastly, The Guardian sat down with Stella McCarney to talk about what she's currently doing in fashion and what she's looking forward to. And also she goes into a nice little kind of rant about sustainability in fashion, which I think is very important, and I'm really glad that more people are talking about it now, especially designers. So if you're interested in seeing what she has to say, especially about environmentalism, I would definitely give this a read. Alright guys, and with that, we've reached the end of our second whiff for the week. As always, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and also as always, if you guys want to read any of the articles I talked about today or look at some more images that I wasn't able to include in this photo, I've linked everything I talked about in the description down below. And lastly guys, I do just want to give you a quick channel update. Unfortunately, I've been running a lot lower on time recently than I've been expecting, so starting today, this will be the last Wednesday whiff for a while, which means we're going back to just 2 whiffs a week on Mondays and Fridays. I'm also going to be deleting a lot of my older videos just because they're not really worthwhile anymore, and honestly the quality just wasn't there. So if there's anything that you wanted to say from those, now would definitely be the time to do it. But with that said guys, thank you as always for watching these videos and supporting my content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or just want to talk fashion in general, feel free to hit me up in the comments down below. I'm always willing to talk fashion. And with that guys, thank you once again. I hope you have a good couple of days until I see you next, and as always, until next time.